What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Point Forward, the podcast. Myself, Iguodala, my main man, Evan Turner. Yes. Today, we got one of my favorite players. Has a whole lot of history with where you come from, where I've spent a lot of time from, and just doing some amazing things. We've had a great conversation with Isaiah Thomas, and this gentleman's name came up in terms of, the Chicago landscape of, the high school celebrity, the high school aura that comes from certain guys. And some guys get it in high school, other guys, may not. And this particular individual can, arguably go down as one of the best players to ever come from Chicago. And, we can dig into, Chicago will really take your high school career over everything else. And it's
because yours is clicking at the right time.
Right. Yeah. But some of the accolades, gold medalist, 3-time NBA champ, 13-time All-Star, 8-time All-NBA, 3-time defensive All-NBA, future first ballot Hall of Famer, currently part owner of the Utah Jazz. I think that's my favorite thing to say, Mr. Dwyane Wade. Welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate you guys making time for me. I know y'all booked and busy, man. So I'm glad a former player can get on the show.
Hey, man, appreciate you coming on for real, man. We're looking forward to this. So,
no doubt. And I guess, to kind of get things started, let's go back to our roots. We've always having those conversations about Chicago. We were just talking about Cappy Pondexter today. We were having some conversations about Will Bynum as well. Candace Parker. Sean Dockery was a huge name in my class as well. You know how all that goes. And there's a little bit more history with us as well. Larry Butler. And I know he used to motivate us using your name a good amount.
Really?
Yes. He's talking about you a good amount. You, DWade, Q. I know you were just on the Knucklehead. So, going back to your youth and on the south side of Chicago, kind of, because a lot of folks don't know unless you're really born and bred in the Chicago area how, where you come from around Chicago means a lot. But just talk to us about how, being from the south side shaped you as a person, as a basketball player.
Yeah, man, you just said it too. Like, where you come from, this is almost in any community, any neighborhood. Like, it means something. And so I grew up on 59th and Prairie. That's what I use for my production company. That's what I claim. But also, too, I grew up in Robbins. And in Robbins, Illinois, even though it's the inner city, it's the inner city of a suburb. Mm-hmm. And so I moved with my dad when I was 9 years old, and I tell my whole journey with my mom going to prison and then my dad getting custody of me. And I moved to the suburbs. And so now you would think that I lived in Pleasantville. You would think I'm like the softest dude ever. Because the perception of, you don't go to a city school, you go to a suburban school.
Right.
And so I had to fight through that as a Chicago athlete, probably still, because even some people be like, oh, DWade, you from Chicago? Because they don't give you that credit if you ain't go to Whitney Young or Sion or one of them dog schools.
Whatever,
Yeah, man. Yeah. But, I always took a lot of pride, growing up in Chicago, man. Like, my brothers and I, we just drove around this is when you could go to every neighborhood. We'd drive around every neighborhood trying to find a game. Mm-hmm. You seen 5 guys or more on the court, we getting out and we trying to hoop. That was just the way we were. And so a lot of my toughness and the way I played just came from playing in the streets of Chicago. I played in the streets way more than I played in gyms growing up. So I give a lot of my credit for my style of play just from the city.
Mm-hmm. So obviously growing up in Chicago, besides, looking up to Michael Jordan, obviously I'm from there, we all have a crazy, basketball disposition. When you're getting into the game, what were you looking forward to the most and who were you patting, your game after besides obviously MJ?
Yeah, man, growing up in the inner city, man, it's you have to find things to celebrate. You don't have a lot of small moments. You damn sure don't have a lot of big moments.
Right.
And as a community. And so the Chicago Bulls was our moment to celebrate something and feel like we were a part of something. Mm-hmm. And so I feel so lucky to have grown up in I mean, I can say it. I mean, probably the greatest team ever. I mean, Iguodala might have something else to say about it, but
not really. I'm on your side.
Ever, from my eyes, right? And I got a chance to watch, the greatest player in my eyes play. And so I felt so lucky, like it being in my backyard. And, was I the typical athlete, like growing up, like body-wise and game-wise? They probably wouldn't have said, hey, he's going to be in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a chance to watch a guy and to watch a team and to watch players that I just admired so much that I just wanted to go out and do everything that they did. And so I'm a big Jordan guy, which everyone knows, but I was a big Allen Iverson and Kobe guy.
Wow.
Those were my three that I kind of followed and tried to pat my game after, because I thought all those three different guys' games was something I can reach that was attainable for me, in a sense. So those three, man.
So kind of walk us through, it's interesting. You had 3 stops in the Midwest, growing up and then playing in Marquette and then, have an opportunity to come back as a professional and play for the Bulls. Kind of describe to us how your overall view matured and what did it grow into in terms of how you saw the Midwest, how you saw, kind of the city of Chicago, just the area through each stop.
Yeah, man, I think as a kid, right, like I'm looking at it from the eyes of, a kid in communities, I said. And so I don't really see, I see gangs, I see drugs, I don't see the positivity in the city at all. I see all the negative in the city. My family, like we're no different, right? My family was in gangs and in drugs. And so for me, I was next in line to be in that same conversation. And so as a kid, I kind of seen it just from that lens of all the bad things that, that was going on in Chicago. And then I got a chance to go to Marquette, and I got a chance to see it from an athlete standpoint where people were actually taking care of you and like lifting you up, like, hey, leave him alone.
Right.
You're going to be something, you know what I mean? And I got a chance to feel like the community and support from like the inner city. Like everywhere I went, they was like, yo, he going to Marquette. Like, don't foul him too hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It meant something. And so I got a chance to see like the love and like the community aspect of Chicago when I was getting ready to do something in my life. And then get a chance to go to Marquette and go to NBA or whatever. I got a chance to now come back to Chicago, and I got a chance to see, how I can really make an impact in the city. And now I got a chance to look at it from a different lens. And just see how, okay, what kind of impact can I make? How can I bring this community together even more? And so that's what I tried to do when I was there. And so I've been able to look at it from all different lenses, and see the beauty in it at each stop, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously, we talked before. I gave you much flowers on your commencement speech recently at Marquette University. But one thing you pulled from there that you said, you talked about solitude and self-awareness. Mm-hmm. How has that played a big part in your life, obviously, but, revisit, what you're saying. I thought it was such a amazing part in building who telling the youth and creating a life you want and building who you want to be if you're able to comprehend those two things.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it, bro. It's really creating the path that you want, right? Mm-hmm. And, it starts here first.
Yes.
Before it starts anywhere else. And so I've had to my whole life is I've had to, be a visionary, right? I've had to have my moments of solitude to just think, to just, whatever your relationship is with God. Yeah. And so still to today, I get up 2 hours before everybody in my house, so I can have my moments of solitude, whether it's coming in the gym for an hour, whether I'm sitting outside, on my red chair drinking coffee. Like I need those moments to come back to myself. I need those moments to clear out everyone else's chatter. And I need to be able to have solitude and clarity to really, to be able to plan it first in my mind so I know what steps I need to take, in the physical. And self-awareness, man, we all know how important that is. If you've been an athlete and you played at every level that we've all played at, for the most part, we've all had to be self-aware at some point when it comes to, this guy better than me. This guy can do something I can't do. You have to be self-aware. And it's a lot of players who are not self-aware, and it takes them a little too long before they understand or they see it. And that was one of my greatest strengths, is that I was always self-aware, I always knew where I was. And I never, even though my ego and my pride maybe took a little longer than I wanted, but it always allowed me to be able to see something bigger than me and see outside myself.
Well, you go back to that, the self-awareness and confidence plays a big role in that. Because I feel like you and I have similar journey in terms of, we didn't really get recruited like that until late, and I see that, your offers were Illinois State, DePaul, Marquette, and I didn't get recruited until I only played 1 year AAU. So I was super late to the scene too. So Bradley, Illinois State were the teams that were looking at me. And
yeah,
you talk about, that's what it was. So you talk about,
not ever.
Right. He was the man.
No,
but,
y'all straight.
You talk about that self-awareness, did you feel like you were better than what was being offered? Or did you just use it as, a motivator to prove yourself, once you got to whatever, was out there for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all do, right? Like, we all feel like we're better than what's been offered to us.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Because all we see, and even though now you get a chance to see the world, like, I couldn't see the athletes out here in the world. I couldn't see that it was 7'3" dudes overseas that was coming next. Like, I didn't know that, right? So all you see is what you see and what you see who you playing against. And so, yeah, I was just as good or better than everybody I was playing against. So I thought I should have gotten maybe more love or more attention. But now that when you get to see basketball in the whole, like I was at Summer League the other day, it was 2 teams on the court and it was 50 players on the bench. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is 2 teams. These are 50 guys trying to make it in this NBA with only a few slots. We're not talking about the whole world we're in and the rest of the league. And so you realize how hard it really is to be that guy that grew up with that dream that you had when you were a kid to say, I'm going to go to Duke. Now I'm going to get drafted number 1. And we all have these. And so for me, it was a motivator, of course, right? Like I always wanted to, when I was younger, I always wanted to prove people wrong, like we always try to do. And then as I got older, it stopped being about proving people wrong and it started being about proving myself right. Mm-hmm. Because we all had that moment where we tell ourselves, we tell our friends, and we look in the mirror and say, I'm this and I'm that. And, instead of trying to prove other people wrong, it was like, you know what? How about you become this and that since you say you are?
Right.
Thanks. And so that was more so my journey. But now I use this motivator. I mean, DePaul came to my house, Pat Kennedy came to my house and told me I wasn't good enough to play until my junior year. Mm. I was in the NBA by my junior year, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I think I went to the league after my junior year. So, I mean, it was the journey for me, man. And did I like it at the time? No, I didn't like only, Bradley was in there as well. I had Illinois State, Bradley, DePaul, and Marquette. I didn't like the fact that I had that. But at the end of the day, I like the fact that I did have one team at least that did want me, because I've seen it the other way as well. Like growing up in the city, guys who have these dreams and they don't get to continue them. They don't get to further them because of education or because of, a previous mistake that was made or whatever the case may be. So I still felt lucky that I did have a scholarship offer from schools, even though it wasn't a lot of schools in the top school.
Yeah. So when did you kind of, we talk about like the beginning of the underrated, but when did you kind of know? Because you go from discussing being like, I just want to go hoop, playing in, play on courts, try to get recruited and stuff. But now it's like your favorite players watching Iverson, Kobe, you get signed by MJ. At what point were you like, all right, now this is kind of getting crazy? And was it a little bit before Shaq came? Or was it like, you know what I mean? Had it been lit? Or was it after the Final Four swagger? Like what?
No. That game against Reese Gaines. Yeah.
Louisville.
Yeah. Oh, Reese Gaines. Reese Gaines was that dude. People forget, some guys games may not translate, but they're a problem in college. And I was a freshman, and we lost to Kansas in the Elite Eight, and who ended up playing Melo in the championship game. But I never forget that Reese Gaines game. And he got drafted high because he played well that game, but he
got drafted 15 to the Orlando.
Yeah.
We had some battles. And what's crazy about the game you're talking about is we played in Marquette 9 days before that game. And Reese Gaines hit a game winner on me. The only loss I've ever had in Marquette.
Oh,
he
wow.
Milwaukee, and it was a big moment. He came down and drained it in my face. So 9 days later, we in Louisville, and the conversation now has shifted to he's the player of the year in the conference. He's this, he's that.
Man, them fighting words.
Here we go. And so I had to go out there and do my thing. But you know what, Ev, I think for all of us, it's different moments in your career. It's not one moment. You know what I mean? Like it was moments in college where I was like, ooh, like I'm nice. But then you run up to somebody who's bigger, you know what I'm saying, it's a little battle. And then once you get over that hump and you like, oh, I'm bigger and better than him, you're gonna keep running into people that challenge you. And so I ran into people that challenged me until probably like when Shaq came and really inserted that level of confidence in me that I could be one of the greats.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I needed somebody that was a great to be able to show me what it's like to be great. And I'll give him so much credit for what I did on the court at a young age in my second year in the league, but also what I started doing off the court. A lot of it came from being around a guy that was doing it. And so I just had to like follow suit, but also just interpret it, you know, my own way and put my own spin to it. But when Shaq says, hey, you one of the best two guards in this game, you're going to be one of the greats.
Wow.
I mean, I don't need no more juice than that.
Yeah,
like, let's go.
That's
like, I'm ready.
So what was that feeling like? You know, even your rookie year, you had successful moments in the playoffs. You know, you talked about it on Knuckleheads going up against BD, but you gave BD everything he wanted. It almost felt like he tapped out. It was like one of them great boxing matches, and the young boy just came through.
Yeah.
And you follow that up with an amazing performance, you know, just keep him continuing to build, and then you win a championship. The first one in your class, you know, considered one of the best draft classes ever, you know, and then, you know, you three had spent some time together in the 2004 Olympics as well and having to go through that. Well, walk me through, what was your thoughts in terms of I won the championship first before these two great players that were kind of the headline of the draft. And I think this is when you went off into the stratosphere and you just kind of catapulted to that trajectory as well.
And I will say, I know the difference prior to, before he won the championship, you used to rock the hat with the do-rag cocked to the right a bit. Afterwards, you start rocking it straight ahead. It started becoming more business savvy and personal.
we was watching.
Yeah, I was watching. Oh, okay, now, all right, this is official. Okay.
Oh, man. I mean, you know what I did? I'm going to tell you guys what I did, man. This was, you know, like the pettiness of stuff. And it's like all in good fun. But I remember before the season where at some point I committed, LeBron used to do this bike-a-thon in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys may see like pictures come up on social and you'll see like T-Mac and Melo and all of us would be at this bike-a-thon. And I remember I committed to doing this bike-a-thon. Now his bike-a-thon was probably, let's say it was within 5 days of winning the finals. Mm-hmm. And so the last place you want to be after winning the championship in Miami is in Cleveland. But that was the first place I wanted to go, because I'm going to be like, hey, bro, so what's up? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going back talking about my ring. And so like that, for me, that was important to be the first one in my class. I knew once we got Shaq that I was the first one that I felt it was in position. Like once you get Shaq, you automatically know like, all right, at that time it's championship or bust.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that I was in position first. And I was like, I better strike now. You know what I'm saying? And like, I can't, waiting, because I knew how great the class was. I knew how great number 6 was over there in LA, Melo and so forth. So for me, man, I was the first one to put in position, and I wasn't going to let that like slide. You know what I mean? I was going to give it everything I had. And so everything I had ended up being, obviously an epic finals run. But yeah, man, I wanted to strike first. Like I wasn't a big name in the class like those guys. And so I needed something to separate myself, or something to put me, on a level. And winning the championship at 24 was that for me.
Wow, 24. That's crazy. Yo, so during that time when you went up to Cleveland, is that when you and Brian, were you guys kind of like, all right, I'm going to battle you? Or was it kind of like a talk like we're going to join together? Or was that just a surprise thing before the big three reshape, you know what I mean, an NBA?
Yeah. You know what? I never thought we was going to play together. Like it never crossed my mind. Like playing in the All-Star games or playing in the summer games or playing in the Olympics, that's one thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But playing in the NBA season together, that's 82. That's way different. Like, you know how hard that is to think about playing with another ball-dominant guy? Ball-dominant guy.
Yep.
Right.
It wasn't as many shots as it is now. The pace wasn't the same as it is now. So it looked even, harder to even think that. And so it was nothing that was on my mind until free agency in 2010. When we started going through the process of free agency, it was nothing on my mind until then about even playing together. A lot of people think like we came up with it. I wish we were this smart. A lot of people think we came up with this plan, like, we were building it from 04 to 08 and we figured it out in 08. Like we weren't that smart now.
You're like, no, I'm trying to kick his ass.
Thanks for the credit. But it just kind of like really, it was the perfect storm for, I think, all of us, man. Like I had one early, and around the time 2010 came, I was that was about 4 or 5 years that I've been losing. And, Ig noticed, once you win the championship, like the rest of the season is just seasons. Like you want to get back to the championship.
Right.
And you've never won it. You think you know what you're missing out on, but you really don't. You know what you're missing out on when you win it. And so I knew that I wanted to get back to that feeling. LeBron at that time was like MVP, scoring champ, all these things. And those individual accolades is dope. But then at some point they become, there's no feeling in it. Like you get nothing when the season ends. You know what I mean? They're feelingless in a sense. And so he was looking like he wanted something more than just those individual accolades. He wanted what everybody said you got to have to be a great player. You got to have championship. And he realized he couldn't do it on his own. And so like CB was in a phase. We're all in different phases in our careers. And the Heat did an amazing job of making sure they can get 3 max players. Nobody have ever done that. At that time, and it just was the perfect storm for all of us.
But you did have to. There were some sacrifices, in there. Yeah, and I'll never forget the lockout. It was 2011, and we were having some conversations, and it was always the sentiments that who's doing the more of the sacrificing. And I remember an owner, someone said, we're sacrificing, and I remember the eyebrows of 3 guys, they eyebrows raised like, hold on, time out. We sacrificing the most, in terms of we put this team together and it was you, LeBron, and CB. Y'all really sacrificed, and it's a lot of conversations on how much should a superstar player get in this league. David Falk came on a pod, and David Falk, I couldn't disagree with him. He said, Steph Curry, LeBron, he names like a handful of guys who would play the same way. They play as hard as they can for $100 million, or if they made $5. And, he spoke about you as well. That's what made me think about it. But he said, Steph's just as big as Neymar. Steph's just as big as, Ronaldo. Yeah. As big as Messi. And those guys are getting $100 million a year. Mbappe just got a 3 years, $300 million deal.
Mbappe got France.
He got what?
He got pretty much $300 million. He gets to choose like
the coach,
the athletic director, the socks, the laces, the shoes. Like, you know what I mean? He basically has
3-year deal. Yeah, $300 million.
Control. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
So, just kind of talk to us about, did you guys talk to each other, or was the Heat are one of the best in terms of having the plan in place of how to make this thing work in terms of salary? How did you all decide how you wanted to divvy it up, or you just said, hey, we'll let them handle it and we want to go out and win these championships?
Yeah. I mean,
because they were coming to Wade County, so you know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say like we look now and say, okay, we won championships, and so everything seemed great, but it was definitely tough in a lot of different ways. I mean, it was tough to give. I think I gave up 17 or 20 million.
Right.
Like I didn't like now as someone who's on the other side of it, I didn't have to give that money up. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have pushed the envelope a little bit more. I could have made them spend a little bit of that bread, right? Like it was a lot of things that at that time as a player, you really didn't know. You just know that this is what they said needs to be done. And this is what we want to do. Let's get it done. And so we all had to sacrifice financially, first of all. And UD. And I always say, like, people like to say, hey, DWade sacrificed the most. I like to say we all sacrificed. UD sacrificed millions.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember being on a call with UD once we decided we were going to do me, C, and Brian, and UD was like, well, ain't no money left for me. Like, I got to go get my bread. And that didn't sit right with me because I'm like, man, we about to enjoy all this success. and my brother who helped build this, he can't be a part of this. So they go more money. We all got to take less because we need our guy here.
Right.
And so the sacrifice started even before we got on the court. It was about, financially sacrificing. When we look at the game today, I ain't seen one player get no money back. I'm seeing everybody get they full.
We talk about that all the time. Where guys is going to get the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole bag. And I don't blame them for it at all. I remember Eddie Jones would tell me back then, I think Eddie, when we came in, Eddie had like a $90 million deal. It probably was a 9-year, $90 million at that time.
Right.
But still, it was a lot of bread. And Eddie would say to us all the time, young fella, get your money, get all of it. And I never really understood it, right? Until we was faced with this moment of giving money back. And that wasn't something that, was common. That wasn't something that we celebrated, was giving money back. But it's something that we did to ensure ourselves that we can all play together. And that's what we thought we needed to do. And so the sacrifice started there, man. And then you guys know when it comes to basketball, it's not even about sacrificing. It's about, hey, we trying to win a championship. We trying to accomplish something. This is just what needs to be done. And as we went through years, we figured out who was ready to take more of a leadership here, who was more to take more of a leadership there, who got better in the offseason. CB starts shooting threes. Now we got to run plays to get him threes. So the sacrifice when it came to shots and stuff, that was for everybody. Yeah. LeBron probably took less shots than he wanted to take, even though he had the ball more. He probably took less shots than he wanted, or he might have had the ball less than he wanted, or he might not have got the ball late in games as much as he wanted. We all had to go through that. But the fun in it was actually going through that and coming out of that and realizing you can do something that it seems impossible, or what people say you can't do, or something that it's just hard to do. And we all came out of it, later man, we accomplished that. And that was tough.
So when you sit there, I guess obviously the money, we talk about the shots, the money and everything like that. I go back to your commencement speech at, Marquette, and you bring up your own personal one-on-one with your brother where LeBron, we're talking about, the solitude and kind of, self-awareness when you're fully giving up your team basically to give LeBron and be the leader. That was a big move because when you think about the thousands Heat, you think about Dwyane Wade, like I said, Wade County and everything like that. And in this day and age, most people wouldn't even consider doing that. You see a lot of guys team up and they've been friends from when they were younger and legitimately aren't cool anymore. So for you to be able, you know what I'm saying? It's happened a few times in the past few years.
Yeah.
So when that came down to it, what was the toughest point of tying that around? Obviously, not saying an ego, but your ego's involved, endorsements and everything going back. The NBA was still kind of like a one-man, very head honcho type league. It was before we were really doing a team-S type vibe,
True.
Yeah. I mean, listen, no one around me no one like my whole team, everybody was like, why? This is Wade County. And I was obviously still good. I was a good player still. No one really understood why. And I can't say that I had all the answers. Yeah. But what I did know is when you're playing basketball, when you're playing on a team that has, championship aspirations and it can actually win a championship, it's a feeling that you have every day in the locker room, the bus rides, the plane rides. You feel it. You feel when you're a part of something special. That first year didn't feel special. It felt like we were a bunch of guys that were just got together, that were talented, that were trying to accomplish something that, was that we never accomplished together. And it was hard, bro. And so after going through that first year for me, what I realized is that if we were going to get to where we really ultimately wanted to, the guy that's 6'9", that can handle, that can guard anybody, that, that can take over games, he had to have freedom to do that. Yeah. And he didn't have it the first year because it still was Wade County. He was still trying to get me the ball a little too much. He was still overthinking. And we couldn't have him thinking that way if we were going to accomplish what we wanted to. So immediately, my leadership, if I was a leader, that was the point of my leadership, understanding that as a leader, you don't always have to let the lead in the front. Sometimes you can walk side by side. Sometimes you can even walk behind. It doesn't matter. There's so many different ways to lead. And so what I said to myself at that time is we got together and we talked about the scoring titles. We talked about the MVPs and the All-Star games and how much those things didn't matter to us anymore. The only thing that mattered was actually completing this goal and accomplishing something that as kids we all dream of. And so I had to take my ego and I had to check it. I didn't leave it. I just checked it at the door. And I just was like, hey, it's your show. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about me. Like, one thing I knew is I haven't always been a star. Like, I've been a guy who's played multiple roles on a team.
Mm-hmm,
so I knew I will figure it out. Like, I can back cut with the best of them. Like, I can offensive rebound with the best of them. I can get steals with the best of them. Like, I'm going to get myself involved in the game. I wasn't one of those players that needed somebody to get me involved. So I had some comfort in that as well.
Well, we mentioned earlier you're a 3-time all-defensive team. And, obviously you're a great two-way player. Speak about the importance of being a two-way player. And do you still see do you think that's a lost art form in this game now?
I mean, do I think so? I mean, I definitely do. I mean, I'm not out there, so I can't say how hard it is to guard these guys.
Yeah.
But defense is just effort. It's just commitment, right? It's just extra effort. And for me, from Jack Fitzgerald to Tom Crean to Pat Riley, like, that was just embedded in me that you had to be, you were going to be the leader. You're going to be the star player. It was an example that you had to set, and it wasn't just on one end. It was on both ends of the floor. It was off the court. It was in the locker room. So for me, it was no other choice. Like, could I guard a guy for 40 minutes and still give you 40? No, that wasn't my role.
Right.
But I'm gonna do my job throughout the game, and then those last 5 to 7 minutes, I got you. Like, I can lock up, or I can make it hard on them. So I just think it's just effort, bro. It's just really understanding that your teammates is watching everything you do as a leader.
Right.
And if your teammates watch you go down there and you can score 50 and you can get 10 assists on the other end, but you don't make the effort on this end, then you lose respect.
Right.
You cannot lose respect in your locker room as a leader if you're trying to accomplish something, that's way bigger than you. And so for me, I didn't want to lose the respect of the guys that I never felt that I was above. Like, I never felt I was above my teammates because I have a little bit more offensive talent. Like, I saw us all on training camp first day running lines together.
Yeah.
All tight as hell together, all lifting each other off the floor. So I've always understood the importance of the team sport aspect, and the individual accomplishments and accolades come from team success. And that's just the way that I roll.
Well, I think something I've never heard you or any of you all speak, the big three speak on in terms of the scrutiny. And I think it may have started with you guys. I mean, you had a whole network build a headquarter down there. ESPN set up shop in Miami. I remember that. That never quite happened. You know what I mean? Like, they had people moving down there for you. They had a crew dedicated to you. That was the first time, like, crews were dedicated to a certain team. Like, it was a crew dedicated to the Warriors, and now it's a crew dedicated to the Lakers, dedicated to Brooklyn. But you were the first in that. Did you, when then LeBron's statement on not 1, not 2, not 3, there's a lot of excitement in that. Like, I get all that. Like, we were doing the same thing. Right. But I don't think we understood, the other side, the hate that was coming with all that. How were you guys able to, one, process it all? And, there's no way you could prepare for it. And just walk me through the psychology of going through that constantly. Like, you guys were a road show. It was just constant coverage. And, how were you able to, I know it's heat culture, and I know, Spo and Pat, you're locked in. I lived that. But I don't think anyone quite understands the psychology when you have to deal with individuals every single day trying to figure out a way to creep through. And, I think they enjoy seeing us fail and they feel like they have a part of it. Like, I said something that bothered DWade. I said something that bothered LeBron. I got a moment through this, and just having to deal with that every day.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like you said, I think at that time, that was the first time that we seen it in our game. And maybe they had it in LA with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but in the new game, that was the first time we experienced it. Like, literally, it was a heat watch.
Right.
Like, LeBron James had orange juice at 9:18.
Yes.
It was literally like everything we did. And, we're like, we thought it was cool, right? Oh, this is cool. Like, we're young guys out here. We're young, we're rich, we're famous. We playing the sport that we love. Like, this is cool. And then the other side steps in, the hating side, the side that, like, everything you do, even if you ain't done it, they make it seem like, it's like people say stuff about you and you're like, wait, I didn't do that. I didn't say that.
Right.
How did y'all, me and LeBron never had that conversation. Like, you just watch people meddle, right? That's what our grandmas call it. Stop meddling. We watch people meddle in our business, and it wasn't even their business. And so it was tough, man. But what I love to say is I felt that that's where heat culture comes in, right?
Yes.
Right? It's because Spo, Riles, Fizz, like our entire coaching staff, they preached what was important to us. And the message was always, it's bigger than us. Like, right? It wasn't about the now, it was about the right now, the 10 years, the 20 years, the 15 years removed. Like we're doing something that's for our legacies, for our families' legacies. Like we can't be so into what people are saying about us now, because this is what we're doing. What we're embarking on is about the future, and it's bigger than an individual. And so we all had that mentality that, you know what, it doesn't matter what they saying about me, him or her. Like we all together. That's why you see me and LeBron show up at press conferences together our first year, because we were together. If he had a good game, bad game, we were taking the questions at the same time as leaders for our team. Win, lose, or draw. And so that was just kind of our mentality. It's like we showing up together. It doesn't matter what people say about us, but I won't say it wasn't hard. That first year, we played outside of ourselves. We wanted to, they were calling us these big bad people. So we wanted to be those people. We walked around with that swagger, like we are the villains. When we're not villains.
Right.
Yeah.
But we walked around with that, like, you know what? We villains, so let's step into that role. And it was just not a fun year playing basketball, trying to be a villain when we all want everybody to love our style of play. We want them to love, the things we stand for and what we do in the communities, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And everything we did was wrong at that time. Yeah. And so it was a very tough year, definitely.
Yeah, we just spoke on that during that time because you guys kind of got like the reputation like prima donnas and whatever else occurs. And it's like, man, whatever you say, these motherfuckers play hard.
They play hard.
Like, play hard. So I don't know what prima donna or whatever else is, but they not telling us the truth because they play hard. I remember sitting there like, bro, these dudes, like you said, play like they don't got $1 in their pocket. Yeah. It was like one of the most unbelievable things. I said, bro, this is a highest level, and these dudes are playing hard. So, I mean, much respect to you. I know that was a tough time, but we noticed it, for sure, So, past all that, obviously, prior to that, take us to the top 75, NBA top 75. You obviously got a hell of an award with some of the best players ever to do it. And, a lot of Chicago people, that was able to make that list. But definitely, I was hyped to see you make it because obviously you're, a big time player growing up.
Probably one of the most humbling individual moments of my career. I didn't know it. I didn't know it was going to be. Yeah. Like I said, I've never really, and we all want to do well individually, but I've never played sports for the individual, right? I've always played from what I fell in love with, and it was the team aspect. And so, and I've always been okay with not getting an award. I remember when I was trying to get MVP one year, and I was going up for Defensive Player of the Year the same year in 2008. And I came in third in both of them. Mm-hmm. Then I was on second team all defense. And I was like, wait a minute. I came in third in Defensive Player of the Year and I'm on second team all defense. Yep. I was like, you know what? These awards don't mean, these awards stupid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't make sense. Yeah. And so that was the only year where I jumped back into individual because I was coming off an injury and I wanted to prove something to the world and myself in 2008. And then they just proved to me again that individual awards meant nothing. And so the 75 was probably the first time since then that I really cared about something individually. And I remember, man, Steph and I, it was when we were about to walk out with the guards at the back, it was Jordan, it was Magic, it was supposed to be Kobe, it was Steph, and it was me. And Steph and I sitting there, we're hitting each other like little kids. That's Mike and Magic. We feel in the moment, as they calling names out, you hearing, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq. You wait a minute, it's getting real. Yeah. And so for me, man, and I said this before, when you put everything into something, and you put everything into the sport that we all have been playing since we've been kids, and you guys know the work that goes into this that nobody will ever know and ever experience, and how hard it is. And when you're able to walk away from the game and you've moved on, in a sense, I died and went to basketball heaven. I fell into basketball heaven when it was over. And that's what the top 75 felt like. I was privy to conversations that I've never been privy to with some of my favorite players interacting, not interacting, whatever the case may be. And Bro, I was just sitting there like a kid. I didn't have none of my family there. Like that was literally a selfish moment for me where I didn't want to have to worry about getting pictures for nobody with somebody else, or I just wanted to embrace it and just, indulge myself into the moment. And I was able to do that, man. It will always be one of the special moments of my career.
That's beautiful. And, we talk about player ownership a lot, in our discussions. And you sort of become the poster boy of, how the process, I guess, is supposed to, go down. It was interesting. It was a place like Utah, and we've had Ryan on. It was one of our favorite conversations because he just kept it real. His journey was amazing. What he's been able to build with his family has been amazing. And then obviously I met him a few times before he was the owner, so I know what type of person you're dealing with. But just kind of, and then I'm noticing a lot of guys are telling me about the pod that they're listening. Just kind of walk us through what that process was like. And then did it happen sooner than you thought? Was it one of your, ultimate goals, and, just how you were feeling through the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a player, we all would love to continue our relationship within the game of basketball. And in a perfect world, we all would love to be a part of ownership, right? Mm-hmm. Because it seems like you've reached the highest in the sport. As a player, now what's the highest outside of that as a businessman? And that's ownership. And so it was always like something that I was hopeful of, but it definitely wasn't something that I felt that I felt was coming. Mm-hmm. And so I was actually on a call with another team around the time that I got a chance to talk to Ryan. And it was really for me just really trying to understand what it even meant to be a part of the ownership group, right? Mm-hmm. We think we know until you get inside and you're like, oh, this is way different than I thought. Mm-hmm. But this world works on relationships, man. I was a couple years ago before I took ownership in the Jazz, I did a camp in San Clemente called the Invite, mm-hmm. where I would invite players in the NBA up, and we were trained together, both on the court, off the court. We'd talk about business, bring different people in from business, businesses around the world to talk to guys, all this. And Ryan was one of the guys that came up. And so we built a relationship. We golfed together. You know how many relationships that you build on a golf course. And they're not built for, hey, let's do business together.
Right.
It's stay connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once you stay connected with people, you realize that it's a lot of like-minded, you guys are like-minded in a certain way, and y'all just connect. And so Ryan and I just connected from that standpoint. And so when I got the call, because a mutual friend who is a mutual friend of ours, Clark
Miyazaki,
Ryan and I, and thought that we would be great partners together when Ryan got the ownership. And I remember kind of blowing Clark off a little bit, like, bro, it's Utah, bro. I'm like, I have no, like, that don't even make sense to me.
Right.
And I wasn't thinking about even getting the ownership. I was just really trying to figure out, like, what was the next steps for me, as I had just signed with TNT. I just got into TV. And Ryan flew to my house. He's like, bro, can he fly up? And I was like, cool. And so, like, this guy this billionaire is flying into my home. Like, this means something, right?
Right.
So I sit down with him, I have dinner with him, and we just have an amazing conversation. It wasn't all about the Jazz. A lot of it was about, I seen Ryan's passion for his state, right? I seen his passion for Utah. So his passion for, I ain't gonna say change, but evolution. Mm-hmm. I seen his passion for evolution. Mm-hmm. I seen an opportunity to grow with a business partner. This was, as a young entrepreneur, man, you want to be able to grow with someone in this space. And Ryan was 41 years old. I was 39 at the time. The other partners in the Utah Jazz was around the same age, 41 and 42. And so I looked at it as an opportunity to actually grow with business partners as well. And Ryan and I talked about that. We didn't just talk about the Jazz. We talked about other things that we can accomplish together, we can do together. And we've been doing those things. So for me, man, it was an amazing opportunity for me to get with partners like, Ryan and our other partnership group, just to learn this business. Learn the business of entrepreneurship, like in a big way, and not just, having your people on the calls and then they send you an email about what they talked about. It was really hands-on. Yep. And I got a chance to do it with some guys who I like, who I would hang out with on a normal, you a golfer, Ryan. Yep. We all would hang out on a normal day. But, somebody I respect so much from what he's built and what his family has built with Qualtrics and everything that he's trying to accomplish in Utah. So I believe in people, and I bet on people. And I just betted on Ryan and his family.
Well, I think folks would love to know, how you've been able to establish yourself as a part owner in terms of, your roles and what you want to tackle around a team, whether it be through building culture. Because you've seen it, from every aspect in terms of the game of basketball. You played at the highest levels. You accomplished everything at the high level, at every level. Talk to us about, how you're easing your way into, and what's your sweet spot in terms of help building an organization.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that I can give them jobs. I just changed my number recently. I got so many text messages.
Well, we've been talking about that.
Yeah,
we had Willie Green on, and then we had Nico Harrison on, and we were talking about how many phone calls you get once that news hits that you've in this position, and they feel like you can just hire any and everybody.
Yeah.
And it is amazing from a coaching standpoint, from a GM standpoint, and then not from an owner standpoint.
A family standpoint. Did family members think they was working for Utah?
Anybody you could think of from the standpoint of like, I can provide a job or, I can get opportunities. And I understand it, right? We all need relationships and people in certain places sometime to crack a door open for us. Like, I get all that. But it definitely has been like, I don't want this smoke. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do the hiring and the firing. That's not like, I think people think because you're a part of ownership, like that's not my role. Right. And so Ryan and I both, when we got together in this, and I didn't know what my role was going to be. We were just figuring it out. He had just became governor of the team 6 months before I even came in. And so we were kind of like in this together, learning on the fly. And so, we knew very early that what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to put a basketball team together. We didn't want to be responsible for, who's traded, who's fired, who's hired. Like, we wanted to build a team. Build a team to be able to do that. And so one of my strengths is understanding what it takes to build a successful team, right? Is being a leader. Like, that's one of my strengths as well. Like, I got a chance. I've won 3 championships. I've been a part of teams. I've been a part of leading teams. And so I know my strengths. And once we was able to bring in Danny Ainge, and we was able to, to keep Justin Zennick, who, all these guys have a lot of experience in basketball. Our GM was an agent 15 years before he was a GM. Danny Ainge has been around the game 45 years, right? Fizz has been from video room all the way up to head coach of the Knicks and the Lakers. Like, he's had so much experience winning championships in Miami. So we wanted to build a team around us that can handle, the day-to-day, right? That can handle all the things that we're not good at and allow for his strengths and my strengths to just be, And so I'm actually enjoying being a part of this group, as we all learn each other, as we all grow. We just hired a 34-year-old coach in Will Hardy, right, from Boston. So it's a lot of growth that needs to happen with all of us. And so it's cool to be able to be a part of a group that we're all starting over together. And, we have an opportunity to create, what we want to see in a sense. And so that's the fun part of this.
Perfect. Last fun part, obviously, I know you got the ownership and everything, but what I've always admired about you is, how you are as a father and how, DWade, you got him, you teaching him and everything. How's that been in regards to, having part of a G League team and kind of like, molding him and teaching him? I think he's been getting a lot of valuable, play and everything from that situation. Has that been fun for you as well?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been stressful.
Yeah.
No, man, it's my son is on his journey just like everyone else, and it sucks because he's my son and everyone expects him to be like me, right? Everyone expects him to be a 3-time, champion and 13-time All-Star, like immediately.
Right.
And then not, it's hard because they don't allow you to go through your growth, journey. Yeah. And so he don't allow himself sometimes either because he expects it too. And so, as a parent, one, you want to give opportunities to your kids, right? You want to give resources to your kids. You work hard for those.
Of course.
But at the same time, you want to allow your kids to be able to, to feel like they've earned it as well. And so it's definitely like last year was a tough year for Zaire and I as father-son, as he's trying to figure out what's the next stage for him? Is he running to adulthood? Is he jumping into adulthood and he's trying to accomplish his dreams? As I'm trying to do the same thing. And so he got an opportunity last year, to play in the G League at Utah. And it was all about, Just trying to get him to understand the game at a professional level, younger. Yeah. Then send him to college with all the things that's going on in college. I love college. I hate that he missed out on that experience, but the temperature of the world when Zaire came out of Sierra Canyon, it changed. We was in the pandemic.
Right.
They opened up where everybody can transfer, and it just was it was a scene that just wasn't.
Yeah, players going from high school to G League and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but at the end of the day, he's still on his basketball journey. I don't know where the journey is going to go. He don't know where the journey is going to go. Only thing I tell him, and just like I didn't know where mine was going to go, but what I did know is I knew that hard work was going to take me wherever I was going to go. And so right now for him, man, it's just about him, working hard at this game, continue to try to understand the game, continue to have, not a big ego, understanding that he has to get better, that he can get better. And as long as he's willing to put the work into that, it's a long journey. You don't have to end with the number one pick. This team selects Zaire Wade. Your journey is yours. It's custom to you. And so, as long as he's along for the ride and he's willing to put the work in, he gonna level out somewhere that he should.
But I will also say, and this is my ET energy, ain't nothing wrong with being born on third base. No, because I'm saying all that because we were players in the league and we were always, we would see who was in management positions, who was in, who were the governors and who was next in line to take over their shares. And, we always talk about generational wealth and how it's passed down. But it's weird because I don't feel like we talk about it in the same sentiment as African-American men. Like we want to tell our kids, you got to get it out the mud like I got it out the mud. Or, the reason why you didn't quite make it is because you didn't have the upbringing that I had. So I got to get you to be tough. And I have to remind myself sometimes, like, I built all these things. All I got to do is put my son in a position to be able to be who he can be, and he can be successful in what I've helped build for myself and pass it along to him. So I think it's just amazing what you've been building. And, this would be my advice to Zaire and then even to Bronny and Cayenne. All our kids are around the same age. And my son, Lil Dre, is, son, I just bought something and you can run it. Just be ready to run it when the time is right. What I mean? Because that's what they've been doing. We always laugh about, you was born on third base. Yeah, you just had a base hit. You didn't hit a triple. You were born on third. Yeah. But I mean, you've gotten all these different tentacles that you've been able to, expand and be able to touch. And I think another play that's been getting a lot of talk about lately is, like Tom Brady just signed a 10-year, $75 million deal.
37.5.
Right. And to be an analyst, you know what I mean? And you're excelling at it. And that's, one of the places that you've been able to have success in because I think you're well respected. We don't see too many hot takes from you. We see respected takes from you. But was that something that you always wanted to do? Or, how did you grow into wanting to be a part of kind of your brand or your legacy to be an analyst? And then how hard is it for you to give constructive criticism to the players that you're watching?
Yeah, going back to Z, like we talked about getting out of the mud. He's not getting out of the mud. He's getting out of the sand. He ain't got me ready. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, like God has blessed us with ain't no mud. It's sand. Like, no, you ain't getting out of the mud because you ain't getting out of the mud. You get it out of the sand.
Right.
and that's okay. You just got to be okay with, with what, play your cards, play your hand. Everyone's always looking at someone else's hand. Play yours. Your hand is pretty damn good if you actually look at it.
Right.
Yeah, man. So when it comes to TV, it's something that I said I would never do. And this is another thing where you shouldn't say what you won't do. Like, I tried it throughout my basketball career. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, I always enjoyed going to the TNT studio or, one day I was on TV and I hosted with Kelly live with Kelly. And I've done so many different things just to see if I sucked at it or not, right? And once I retired, I was like, all right, guys, I don't want to do TV. I don't want to talk sports. I don't want to be one of those players that's on TV talking shit about the other players. Like, I don't want to be that person. And so, but also retired. And I didn't know what the next step was neither. And TNT was some people I was familiar with Tara and Shaq and Charles and Ernie and Candace. And, so I was familiar with those guys. And I just decided to try it. I said, you know what, I'll give it a 3-year run to see if it's something that I can do and I can try. And I did that. And I felt throughout the process, I was editing myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't all because of just the players. Like I had gotten ownership in this process. There were certain things I couldn't say.
Right.
You know, around free agency time, it's hard to be an owner up there talking about the state of the NBA.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of juggling going on. But one thing I did like about it is the microphone, right? It's like you guys have a microphone, I have a microphone, and we have a responsibility with that microphone. And what I loved about it is that anything that I could, think of, anything that was going on in the world, you had immediate, echo or microphone to be able to send it out to the world. Or any point that I wanted to say on a player, I can say those things. So I try to approach it the way that I could best. I don't know what my TV future looks like, but I definitely know that, it's there. It's always a part of the brand. It's something that I enjoy doing. I'm just that person that's trying to find like what's next for me.
Right.
Like I did that. Like now I'm like, what's next? I'm not Dre. I'm not one of those hot take guys. Y'all ain't get no hot takes from me. Like, you know what I mean? Like from that standpoint.
Right.
But I love the game. Like I love the way that JJ Redick, and CJ, I love the way they talk the game. I love the way that Dre can talk the game. I'm more of a person that I would love to pick up the phone and talk to guys more so than I want to be on TV talking to guys or about guys. Yep. I'm a mentor.
Yep.
I'm the guy, I'm that guy you sitting on the sideline with, I'm got a Jazz shirt or not. You can talk to me about business. You can talk to me about what I need to do in that game. Like I'm going to help you the best way I can, right? Through my experiences. And so TV was a little hard juggle for me. I can't lie, but it was definitely great to sit next to like Candace and Shaq and then Adam, who's now been invited to all black cookouts. Like Lefko is a dope individual. So I appreciated the platform. I just want to make sure, like if I do TV again, I want to make sure, like I'm a businessman too. I want to make sure that it strategically matters, like it makes sense for why I'm doing TV. I'm not just on there being a talking head, but I'm actually there to accomplish something. And so I just kind of went in without a plan. And 3 years later, I'm kind of like, okay, now I need to sit back and see like what will my TV plan be if I continue that.
So you were talking about mentoring players. Obviously, you have the Donovan Mitchell. You guys are super close. But recently, Dre had a take where he brought up a young player named Anthony Edwards. And he compared him to you, but he also said he think he might be more talented than you at the same age. To a certain extent, who's some of your favorite players you see? Who's out there where, you're like, man, this is besides the usuals, like the DWade and everything. Who's certain players you like to click on and watch? Strictly
from basketball, not being a governor, and we don't want to get another governor fine.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Like, I'm glad you brought up Ant. So I actually met Ant when he went to Georgia. So Tom Crane, my college coach at Marquette, coach at Georgia. When he went, and my son was up there on unofficial visit, and Ant was as well. This was before he skipped his senior season to go right to college. And coach was watching film with him, and with Zaire and I, and all those things. And like, I was like, damn, this kid is talented. You know what I mean? Like, watched him, he looked like he had a LeBron body in high school, right? And so just while following him in Georgia and following his early career, like I'm with Ig is like, this kid is very, very talented. And I'm 6'4". He's about, 6'7", 6'8"?
No, he's not that tall. He's only like 6'3" and a half. I thought he was.
I think he like 6'5".
No,
Dre swears he's short.
He's 6'4". When I played him in the season, I heard he grew again. So I'm expecting to see, a kid that's looking me eye to eye or above. And I'm looking down on him and bro, you only 6'4". You didn't grow that much. He was like, nah, who said I grew? He's 6'4". And that's what makes it crazier. The kid came at me full speed one time and he did an in and out. And there was absolutely nothing I could do. I'm like, it's time for me to wrap it up. This kid, he's different. I mean, he's like you when he can change those directions and he can split pick and rolls and then he's explosive coming out of it. It's insane. And
he knows all of it too.
All he need 2 months of Miami basketball and it's over with.
He needs 2 months of the culture.
And it's over. Oh my God, that kid's got it. He got it, man. And he can shoot it too.
Yeah, I saw.
He definitely, and I'm not sensitive to someone saying that a guy is like DWade or it could be better than D. Like, that's what it's about, bro. It's about, like, we see players before us. Like, my game came from Jordan, Kobe, and Iverson. Mm-hmm. It was just a remix of all those guys. And game was probably a remix of mine and Kobe and this guy. And so like Ja game is a mix of a lot of small guards.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see me and him, you can see Iverson and him, you see a lot of, explosive guards. So for me, man, like the game from a talent standpoint, like you love tuning in and watching young guys, of course. Who doesn't want to see Ja Morant, play? Who doesn't want to see Ant Edwards play? Who doesn't want to be able to follow their journey and their rise? Like who doesn't want to watch Luka? Like if you love basketball, you want to watch Luka play every night.
Yeah. He loves Luka.
Oh, Luka!
I like him too.
He does everything. Like watching him in person is way better than watching him on TV.
True story.
He's that guy, right? Yeah. And so, like the game from a talent standpoint, and the top players in our game is at such an elite level from talent, right? We know the game has changed. We know it's different than what we played and all that, but the talent level is like it's beautiful to watch from that standpoint. So, I mean, I'm just a fan. Like I don't sit there and be like, oh, I'm better than him, or I don't do none of those things because like I understand that those guys got a chance. Those guys got an opportunity to see me, just like I got an opportunity to see the people before me. And so, like, yeah, they should be better at the Euro step by now. They should have added something different. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or they reject should be better than my reject. Yep. Like, you got a chance to watch it. And so, yeah, man, I just think the talent level in the NBA is at an extreme rate right now.
Well, we appreciate the time, man. We don't want to hold you up. We know you got a million tentacles out there. You just being able to go out there and make it the most out of the opportunities that you've been able to build for yourself, which is always why we've always revered you and held you at a high level, is because this guy, he really made the most out of his career. And we talk about what's the point of it all is just maximizing who you are. And I think you've done that better than anybody in NBA history. So I appreciate you for being, somebody we can look up to, somebody that can motivate us, somebody that inspire us. And, I don't throw your name around lightly. So I know what Anthony Edwards can do. And hopefully he picks up the intangibles, because that's the biggest difference. You had those intangibles that you don't see from elite players. And he just said that, playing against the Heat, these ain't no prima donnas. These boys play hard. So appreciate you coming on. Tell the family we said hello. And Godspeed. Wishing you nothing but the best with the organization and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, appreciate you once again, DWade. And tell Mrs. Wade, thank you for all her work to the universe. I always appreciate it. And
man, we appreciate, like I said, man, you guys both have a microphone, and I think of course it's big and it's important in sport, right? From a player standpoint, like Dre said, the new medium, but it's also important in life, in the world. And so we all have that. And, I appreciate you guys using that microphone and and saying what it is y'all feel, and, honest and being honest. So keep it going, man. I hope to sit down with you guys again and talk about some more wins and maybe even some L's and on the next one, bro.
For sure. Appreciate you.
All right.
I appreciate you.
Yep. Take care.